Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wine and Real Estate.
Oui, bonsoir tout le monde.
So tonight we're really glad to have a very special guest, Susan Flanagan. So Susan does private mortgages. We've had mortgage brokers in the past, but this is a very different spin. And we always talk about the importance of private money in an investor's arsenal. So you never know when you're going to need private money. Actually, you always need private money, in my opinion, to get things going, to move along. So really excited. And before we get started, let's have a little toast.
Yes, there you go. Tell us what you're drinking tonight, Susan.
Cheers.
Yes.
So Susan, what are you drinking? It looked red, so what's your drink of choice?
Actually, and I'm probably not as sophisticated as some. Which one do I have here? I don't have the one I'm drinking. It's Apothic.
Oh, yes.
Do you drink that?
Yeah, it's nice.
I love it. It's one of my most favorite. Unfortunately, the price keeps going up because so many people like it now.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's
supply and demand.
The dark or just the regular?
I do both. I'll do both. But I do like the regular one, and I tried the dark. Yeah, it's fine, but I still like the regular.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we liked both of them as well.
Yeah, we went to a place. They had a flight of red, and it was Apothic red, Apothic dark, and a white.
Two other,
something. Anyway, we're like, yeah, it's still the best is the regular red.
Yeah,
not sure what it is. It's Cabernet Sauvignon, or do you know what varietal it is?
No, see, I'm not as into I love my wines. I'm just not as knowledgeable. I go by, I taste them and went, okay, I like that, and then carry on with it. So it sounds like the two of you are really into know your wines. Do you?
I like learning the story behind it, but yeah, if the bottle looks interesting, we grab it and we try it. So
Same here. And and then the ones I really like, I take a picture of so that I remember the next time I'm in the liquor store, because that's the worst. You go, what was that wine again?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely. We're just drinking a medium-bodied Shiraz tonight. So
because we're currently in New Brunswick, so we're a little not used to like NB liquor.
The wine choice.
It's very different selection.
Yeah, it is a different selection, but we've got to taste a lot of the local wines.
Yeah,
and they've got a few pretty good ones.
Yeah, the wineries are impressive. If ever you're in Moncton, Magnetic Hill Winery, really good, really nice. The beautiful view. It's on a very nice
really
hill.
Quaint.
So, but we do miss Ottawa. We're going to be back in Ottawa on Friday, so back home. But it's been fun in Moncton. So anyway, Susan, if you were before we came live. You were telling us about your 30 years of experience. So you started when you were 1 or 2, I guess, investing?
Did. See, you're very astute. Yes, I was around 2 when I started. But no, I actually, my first property I bought, I was living in Canmore at the time. I knew nothing about nothing. All I know is somebody suggested that I look at buying a property. I went, are you kidding? I don't have any money. And that's where it started. And I've never looked back since. I learned real quick that it was cheaper to rent out your property than it was to stay in it yourself. Because I was traveling and then I rented it out and then I learned, so it's like I fell upon real estate by accident. And I hate to say it, but back then, there was none of this back then. Nobody was sharing their secrets of how they did things. So you learned everything by trial and error. And I didn't have a lifelong dream to build a big portfolio or anything, but I recognized that there was money to be made and that it's money that you're making that you're not actually working for it. I was working as a full-time nurse. And I went, okay, I like this. And then just from there. Yeah.
So when did the nursing job stop? Like, did you just, I guess, investing kind of became too big or?
It was over the years. What it did do for me very early on was gave me an avenue to not have to be full-time. Okay. And of course, living in the Rockies, you can imagine, I was big into skiing. I was hiking, golfing, all of that. So it was like I really recognized early on that, wow, it's just another avenue. But then as time went on, I saw this is how I can get out of a career that was killing me some days. I mean, between your back issues and working shift work and working Christmas and all of that, over time, I realized real estate is my avenue to get me out of the career.
It's hard. I worked in retirement homes, and I saw nurses and PSWs, like all healthcare. It's rough. So it's good to have a sideline, like you said, at least work only part-time or even quit. But we do need some people in healthcare, so don't all quit and become investors. So
I mean, I was feeling almost guilty as COVID started, because it's like, oh, I could be helping, but I'm long past. I mean, my license is long gone, the works. I mean, my biggest area that I used to work in was the emergency department. So that's not an area that you just step right back into. You don't forget certain things, but there's also changes that happen along the way. So yeah, it was a great career, but I'm thankful for real estate.
Good.
That's amazing. So how did you start using private money? Like, were you using private money right away, or did you even realize? How did you kind of start out?
Actually, what happened with me starting to use, I wasn't using private money myself for my own projects, but in the around 2006, somewhere around there, 2005, I learned about using your RSPs. So I bought the book, and I still recommend to everybody to buy it, The RRSP Secret.
Yes.
So very relevant. I should be getting commissions.
Yeah. And it's an easy read. It's like 150 pages. I think it's fairly small.
Yeah, but what it does, it gives you an understanding whether you're using RSP money or cash. But so I started out from being the lender side, and then as time was going on, I mean, I was a typical real estate investor of just buy and hold. That's all I was doing. But then I started reaching out more, and then learned some more alternative, methods. And the more I've learned, as with everybody, I'm sure over the years, the more you recognize there's so much more.
Yeah.
And so then I started using private money for deals that I was buying. So I was doing flips. I was involved in everything from student rentals to buying properties, doing them into a duplex, all kinds of stuff. And then I recognized the beauty of private money.
Cool.
Maybe we should kind of explain to people who maybe don't know exactly what private money is, just in case.
Sounds illegal.
Very good point. Yeah, I know we're all over here talking this, but what it boils down to, when people are either in a position that they cannot use the bank anymore. That's one time. But then there's times, actually, it's a whole seminar in itself, really. But private money is non-bank money. That's how you look at it. And it's more expensive for people to use. However, there's a very large advantage why you would use it, especially as a real estate investor. So just to touch on it, I guess we could leave it there. And I mean, people could, get a hold of me later or whatever, or go to my website. We have a great guide to the to private mortgages. There's more and more information out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we get a lot of calls too. Like, so do you help lenders as well? I'm sure, because some people ask us, how do I lend my money, like, sort of safely? I'm like, well, you need to speak to a mortgage broker, a lawyer. There's ways. Like, we're not lenders, we're borrowers. So at some point we will reverse that, but right now we're borrowers.
Yeah. Actually, I have a huge list of lenders. At this moment in time, as this interview is happening, I'm not personally bringing on more lenders. We have more than enough, but that can change at any time. And so I tell people that if they have money to lend, it is good. Reach out to different brokers, reach out to lawyers. I do suggest, if they're going to reach out to investors directly, be careful that you know what you're doing first, because And I'll use me as a good example. When I first started lending, I was lending to another investor who needed the money. Well, who was I learning from? The person I was lending to. So
Wow.
nothing bad happened, but a lot could have happened because I had no knowledge. So these are, things that, I suggest to people. But from that side, right now I'm not bringing on new lenders, but I'm open if people needed to call and learn a bit.
Cool.
Okay. Well, that's good to
know. And you've got resources on your website to find out what it is and what they could do and how to get ready for that.
My website is for borrowers. I have I just recently actually updated my website. I'm working on putting something together totally separate for people who want to be lenders. But the website right now, if you went to it, you're not going to find information on how you can lend your own money. I've tried to keep it separate now. It just was getting too confusing for people.
Yeah.
That's a good idea because the borrowers are not going to be looking for the same thing as the lenders are, obviously.
No.
Not the same information.
Yeah. So this is great. We can ask you any questions if anybody listening. So that's why we do these live as well. So if people want to ask questions, you can. I'm going to try and take a look and see if there's questions in the comments. It also becomes an audio podcast, just like other podcasts in the future. But I like the live part. It's more off the cuff. And then sometimes you get some interesting questions. So Jennifer, do you have a burning question about private money?
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering, a lot of people are saying that there's more money than deals in the market. What are your thoughts on that, Susan?
There is right now, and that's why I've kind of stopped the bus.
Yeah.
I don't want to say to somebody, I'll get you on my list, because there's a process that you have to go through. I never touch somebody's money. It's having them on my list, but they have to fill out a lender profile. We have to have their ID, like things like this, and talk to them to find out exactly what they're needing and looking for. So I match them up properly with the right person. But you are so right this minute in time. I think the floodgates have opened, that people have recognized there's better options for putting their money to work than the regular channels of the past of mutual funds and stocks, and that real estate is an excellent option where they should park their money.
Yeah, it's a great vehicle.
Yeah. So you're right about that. So there is no excuse if somebody says, "Oh, but I can't find anyone." Well, I always tell people, call me last. Boo-hoo, don't call me first. But no, seriously, because if you need to borrow private money, which you've done in the past for some of your projects.
Yeah,
quite a few times.
Okay, so if you could get it from a friend or relative, that's going to be a cheaper option for you than doing it through a broker.
Because there's no broker fees
for what we do. Yeah. So, and I mean, I'm not going to minimize that in any way, because we bring a lot to the table. However, that's why I say, if you've exhausted your other areas, then call me, please. The other thing I know I mentioned to you as we got started, right now, we have some awesome lending programs specifically for people who are doing flips and the BRRRR method, where you can actually even start. You could get a mortgage with just $20,000 as a down payment. That's the minimum.
Wow.
There's some that's one big perk, but there's others that parts to it that there isn't necessarily an appraisal. The fees, the lending fees, can be capitalized into the mortgage.
Oh, that's rare.
Which is helpful, because let's face it, when you're doing a flip, you're trying to use as little money as possible.
Yeah,
you have to come up with the renos, right?
Yeah.
The biggest deal I say to people is, call me first as you're looking at the property, because we'll analyze it. We have an analyzer that will put all the proper numbers in there to show you if this is going to be a profitable venture. First off, you don't want to put an offer in if it's not profitable. So I'm helping you find out that information. And then also showing you what's the maximum that you could put in as an offer. Because let's face it, there's lots of bidding wars right now.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You don't want to get caught. You want to know, where's my cutoff from a financial position. So we talk about that, we look at it, and then you can go off and put your offer in. And I I could spend this whole time just talking about this program. It's awesome. So it's worth people thinking about, and do not hesitate to get a hold of me to learn more about it.
Yeah, that's a great program, because that is such an important key that you just said, not paying too much for property, especially in a flip or in a burst situation, because that's the whole point, is leaving some meat on the bone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and you want to increase, you want to get a lift. You want to, you can't pay top dollars for the deal and then pay top dollars for the renovation.
That's
and then
right.
try to sell it at a profit. You're going to be volunteering.
And with private money.
And with private money, my goodness, just stay home and
go work at McDonald's.
Yeah, you'll be just as well.
Yeah. No, and that's why, and what I notice, I mean, most of my clients, because I'm also a real estate investor, are investors. I'd say 8 out of 10 mortgages that I do are with a real estate investor. And the one thing I will say that I'm upset to see that people didn't do their homework properly ahead of time. They got caught in, I've got to buy a property. They get caught up in that mentality. And then they're coming to me for the mortgage after they've done all that. I've seen some that honestly, at the end of the day, they made next to no money, and they could have gone into it more educated to know where to start, how to start. So I definitely, that's one of the things I spend a lot of time doing these days, is on the phone in the beginning, maybe even on Zoom meetings with people, like to show them where to start. So.
And how do you get started? That's a question we get a lot as well. Some people have their house, they have a good job, they're a couple, and they're like, I want to get started. We met the other night, a lady, she had about 500,000 in equity in her house and maybe 200,000 in cash. I'm like, how do I get started? I'm like, you don't need to ask me. I would know exactly what to do. But let's say you had a client like that. What do you suggest?
Well, first off, as you hear so many times, we need to know what's their objective. What are they looking to do? Now, I mean, so from the point of view, I look at, first off, a flip is not a strategy for someone who's trying to create wealth down the road. It is a great strategy to build some initial money, or along
for
the
starters.
way, or along the way. Like I do a flip maybe 1 a year, sometimes 2 a year. And that's added income. But so yes, but that's why too, the BRRRR method, what I love, it's basically, you're going to still think about, you're buying it, you're renovating it. You can decide by what's happening in the market. Am I going to sell it, or am I going to refinance it? And then there's times that, of course, some people can't refinance it because of their personal situation. That's the time you say, then maybe now's when I should look at bringing in a joint venture partner. I highly suggest to people, do everything you can to not have to bring in the partner from the beginning, because when you get the lift, right, you can keep those profits yourself.
Yeah, that's really smart. So you do a flip, but then in a way you keep part of it, and then you get a partner. And that's how you kind of cash out partially, but stay in the deal. So that's really smart.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
that's our next thing.
You use a good example. Let's just use Hamilton. It's so popular. Let's say somebody finds a property, and this is a common. I get a lot of my mortgages from there that somebody bought a property. Maybe they got it around 500,000. They know darn well if they could turned into a duplex. They figured it out. Oh, it's going to cost them 100,000. So these are things that we need to know, those numbers, because I'm putting all those in the analyzer, right? And so they're putting 100,000, but they also know by what the market's doing, a legal duplex could bring them in between maybe 750, maybe even 800,000 at the end. So they're seeing that this could happen, okay, and then organizing towards it. So if someone truly could get just put the 20,000 as a down payment, their 100,000 for the rentals. Let's say you didn't have it. Well, get creative, talk to your family, whatever, use lines of credit. You can do a lot of things, but if you can truly do that aspect without a partner, once it's finished, now all of a sudden it's worth, let's say 700,000. you're refinancing it at 700,000. And maybe it's the partner that's doing it because they're the one that can qualify. And any of the profit that comes out, it goes into your pocket.
Wow.
It's
That's a great strategy.
A much better strategy. If not everyone can do it. That's why I really love to brainstorm with people beforehand so that you've got the various ideas that you can be doing. You're not just stuck to one solution at the end.
Yeah, you need multiple. We always call them exit strategies or pivoting strategies, and that's kind of pivoting. Let's say you don't qualify, because let's face it, I don't qualify for another $800,000 mortgage. So so then a partner can, and then that's it. That's your way kind of out, but staying within the deal, because like you mentioned, holding on to properties, that's where the real wealth is. If you're selling them off, then they're no longer producing money, and then there's capital gains and different things. So of course
it all starts. I mean, there's so many strategies out there, right, that people can be doing. It's almost overwhelming. I think I'm comfortable with all of it because I've been years building on it. And I would pull in different strategies bit by bit and learn them and see what other people are doing. But a brand new investor that might be listening to this is nothing. I mean, we both know there's so many different strategies out there.
Oh yeah.
So you have to start with something and then keep building and gain knowledge, and of course hang around real estate investing networks and so forth.
Yeah, that's a big thing, is taking action, and you will make mistakes. We just went over that this morning about our mistakes. And how do you move forward after making some mistakes? Some are older ones, some are more recent, and it's important to learn and to definitely brainstorm with someone who's got 30 years of experience. My goodness, wow.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, there's one statement I can confidently make, that if there's any real estate investor out there who's saying they've never made a mistake,
oh yeah, for sure. There's no way.
There's just no way. Things happen. And it's all, I mean, part of it is our attitude, but the other part is being prepared beforehand, like you said, to be able to pivot but take action. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that you mentioned earlier is that you had started 30 years ago, and that the information wasn't there, like there wasn't all the internet and the
social media pressuring you to buy
Yes.
at any cost.
So what do you think that investors are doing, like the biggest mistakes that they're doing nowadays?
You know what? That's a good point. That it can almost be that, and it depends on people. Everybody has a different personality, right? I've always been the type of person, it's like I get an idea, it's like, that sounds great. And sometimes I jump too quickly before, but I take action. I've always been that way. And then it's like, oh, well, I'll figure it out as I go. It's kind of like jump out of the plane and worry about the parachute halfway down. So that can be a bad thing. But what can also be a really bad thing is analysis to paralysis. Is that how the saying goes?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I know so many people that I've known over the years. They go to all kinds of events. They're out there. They have knowledge just exploding, but they're, oh, I'm sorry. My dog sees something out there.
No problem.
But they've put themselves into such a fear factor, they won't pull the trigger. So in a way, sometimes too much knowledge can be too much. It can be overwhelming. So actually, I think some of the best things people could do is start out. They need a mentor, but a mentor that is not just any mentor, because there's lots of them out there, and I know they're out there teaching people, and they have barely done their own
deals,
and they're trying to teach people. But somebody who literally will take you by the hand on the first couple deals, and that in itself, your confidence goes from here over the top, and then you carry on.
Yeah, that's a really good strategy, because I think that if someone just helps you out for those first few deals, you really do get a hang of it and you got a good idea, and then you start learning what you like to do and what you don't like to do.
Comfort level.
Yeah.
That's what we did. We did a few small deals by ourselves. Then we got a mentorship program and mentors. Then we did some bigger deals. And now, we made a few mistakes. And now we're getting a new mentor at a new level. So you keep kind of increasing. It's like when you're working out at a gym.
Yeah.
You keep increasing things. You need a different...
You're building the muscles, I guess.
Yeah. The real estate investor.
But the other thing too, I mean, and I use myself as a good example, even though I've been around a long time doing different aspects of real estate investing, I'm constantly learning. Like, oh my gosh, every time I'm at an event, whether I'm part of speaking or just in the audience, I'm taking notes like crazy. And like people there, again, though, you're going to find some people that are going to act like, oh, I know it all. Well, that's not true. There's so much to learn, and things keep changing in the real estate world. So you have to stay open-minded to always want to learn.
That's so true. And there's 1,001 ways to invest in real estate. So
yeah, it can be super passive or very active. Like a flip, I find, is the most active, hands-on type of investing. Private lending, I would say, that's, in my opinion, is like the most passive. And then there's stuff in between, like you mentioned, joint ventures. There's different types of involvement.
Wholesaling. I mean,
wholesaling.
Again, what you asked before, Jennifer, to do with, where people should start, it still always starts with what is their goal. And I'll use an example. Let's say a young 22-year-old is trying to get into real estate, but they still live at home and they don't have any money, but they have a full-time job and they're very keen and they're a good student to learn. Well, I would suggest with somebody like that they need to get somebody to mentor them in wholesaling.
Yeah.
Wholesale deals behind you, get some cash behind you. Okay. It's not only giving you some money, but it's increasing your confidence now to think of other things. But somebody like the woman that you talked about that has money with her HELOC and all that, I would say, well, she's got the funds. She needs to decide what strategy is she looking for? Is she looking to create wealth down the road, or does she want monthly cash flow?
Yeah.
So it's like answering those questions, then that person can then look at the avenue that's going to help them. And that's where it comes in.
It's a big consideration too, because like you mentioned, cash flow. So some people actually earn quite a nice income. So cash flow can actually hurt them due to income tax. So I know you can have corporations and things, but when you're starting out, the cash flow sometimes goes right into your pocket and then it gets taxed. So building wealth in the future, maybe you don't want as much cash flow. And like you said, that's all about goals and strategies. You have kids, you want to give this to. We have kids. So setting up a family trust at some point is something you need to consider. How do you inherit these things? So that's really interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, as we've all heard numerous times, it's as you get going, it is building a team. And everyone that you work with, in my estimation, my opinion, they should be investor focused, but not just investor focused. It's just my opinion. I believe that they also need to have their own rental properties.
Yeah.
So that you really know that they appreciate what you're going through. I'm the realtor, I'm talking mortgage brokers, I'm talking accountants, I'm talking lawyers. I really think that's important because anyone can be transactional in their profession. But if they understand where you're coming from, because they've been in your shoes, that makes it, I think, so much better.
Even contractors, we recently got a new contractor. So we had some contractors, awesome, but they were not investors. And now we have a contractor who knows. He's like, well, tenants love this and tenants do this and tenants do that. I'm like, wow, we speak the same language. This is perfect. Then I have to explain to you about the caulking around the tub and stuff. You know all about it. And
well, and now it's funny you say that. There's a catch-22 because a great contractor that is also an investor, eventually you're going to lose them as a contractor.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
he was a retired investor.
They look at, what am I doing? I'm doing their deals. I might as well do my own. So that is a catch-22. And of course, we've always said, once you find a great contractor, just pay them well, because you don't lose them.
That's so true.
Yeah. Oh, I've had my contractor stories. And as I'm sure we all have, I think every investor that's been out there over the years can and maybe should write a book of all the stuff that's gone wrong. But I'm still here and I still survived. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a nice one last summer. The beautiful new tub, everything, but none of the pipes were glued or connected. And then tenants moved in, and 2 months later, well, there's water in between the floors. Well, no wonder, it just goes right. Anyway, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And someone we were using for years.
Could you go back on the contractor?
Not really. Anyway, it was an easy fix, but it was mostly annoying. Just
it wasn't so bad, like cost-wise, but just a little bit
like
annoying.
I mean, this is basic. Let me know if you don't have time. Anyway, just silly stuff. So yeah, we kind of parted ways. Let's just say.
And those things happen, and that's why when I hear people say, "Oh, I like to be hands-on," and I just let them do their thing. No, you have to be in there like a dirty shirt and watching. And okay, from a female perspective, what I like to do is, I mean, I'm always asking questions, and of course, you're interviewing different contractors, but the interview is for many purposes. I'm trying to get a feel for what different contractors are saying, and then using one to the other to know who has the best knowledge, because I'm not a contractor. I have a basic knowledge of this, the items, but right. So you just this is
we check like what do you look for? Like we always look, are they on time? Are they very dirty or a little too clean? Like, do they actually do their work themselves? What does their truck look like?
Too dirty or too clean?
Yeah, like I mean,
some thing could be that they're more concerned about cleaning the place than renovating it. I've had my issues both ways, like of different ways of with different contractors. I don't want to get into my horror stories because I could be all night. I could truly be all night, but I've also had some great stories where somebody has come along and they have been the hero of the day, fixed it all, the works. And that's why I say, once you find somebody, I think the easiest, sorry, I'm jumping all over, the best way to start off to really know about the contractor, don't hire them for the whole job.
No.
Piecemeal it. And so you be your own general contractor.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a good idea.
I've had better luck that way, that I'm the general contractor. And then
you do the drywall and you do this. And yeah, it's so true. And then you see their strengths. Some people are better at whatever, parging or something and than others. So
yeah. And another reason for doing it that way, you could have multiple things happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true too.
Right? Whereas when it's just one contractor, oops, I'm getting an echo noise here. Are you hearing that?
Yeah, it's the system. I'm gonna bring down the volume.
Is that better?
Okay, yeah, I don't hear it now.
Okay,
yeah, because I've had some contractors, when they've been hired for the whole job, I'm going, well, come on, we need to speed it. Oh, but no, we need to do this first and then we'll do that later. And I'm thinking, you could have had different people in here at the same time, but it boiled down to they were doing a lot of the work themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So
anyway. So to go back to private lending, Susan, what do you think that investors that are looking for private lending should be looking for? What's kind of like the main criteria or?
Well, they have to
they just want money.
First off, private money is much more expensive than. Should I turn my volume down too?
Oh.
because it
So
is
at least getting their head wrapped around the idea that it's going to cost them more.
yes, it is definitely going to be more costly than the bank. So that's why you have to run your numbers ahead of time. And so what they're looking for, some people get too hung up on the interest rate. Don't get hung up on that. If it's expensive, so what? It's really echoing.
Oh yeah, okay.
I just hope it doesn't bother me, but I hope it isn't bothering other people listening.
It doesn't sound bad on our end.
Okay, then it's maybe just my end. But to appreciate, so I'll go back to this flip program. If somebody could truly get this house and only have $20,000 as a down payment, that is so exciting. However, your interest rate is going to be expensive.
Yeah.
When I say to someone, please do not get hung up, because so when I say expensive, it could be as high as 15.5%.
Yeah, because you pay for the convenience.
Well, it's not just the convenience. Think about it, though. And this particular program that
you just have 20,000 in the deal.
Yeah, you don't have much skin in the game.
Deal, but you're only paying 15.5% over 1 year. That means 1.3% per month. So are you not motivated to get in and out of that renovation very quickly?
Yes.
You're trying to get it done in 4 months. And the other thing with this program, there is no payout penalty. So yes, and that's another bonus, because most private mortgages, there is a payout penalty.
Yeah.
So things like that. So I guess when you're saying what should people look for, they need to have a good discussion to understand the numbers and be prepared. And I will. So one of the things I'll tell you, so the interest rate is always higher. As the person borrowing, you're responsible for the broker fee if there's a broker involved. You are also responsible for an appraisal if an appraisal is involved. But having said that, the flip program, there's no appraisal, by the way. That's
okay.
Yeah, I know that program. I love it.
Wow. That's amazing.
And they're also responsible for the lawyer for the lender. And people don't know that. So what I do is that's why I like to run those numbers with people at the beginning. You need to know what it's going to cost you. Is it feasible for you to do this project and still walk away and make great money? And in some cases, it's not. I can't tell you the number of people I've discouraged from buying a certain property once we ran these numbers.
Yeah.
Because not every property will fit, and you want to know this ahead of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah.
So it's more of like they need to be preparing themselves if they're going to be using private money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've even done things at times. I've had projects where it's all private money in every aspect, not from the same lender. So for instance, one project I'm doing, I had a private first, but I already had another project on the go. So I was out of my own money. So then I turned to one of my rental properties, had to take a second mortgage on it so that I could finance. So I knew all this ahead of time. I crunched every number. We looked at the worst case scenarios and then decided, is it worth me going forward or is it not?
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good idea to look at the worst case scenarios.
Yeah.
That way, it should be better than that.
Yeah, you want it to be better, but to base your numbers on the worst case scenario, if you're still going to make money, then you go for it. But if you're hoping, that's not a game.
No.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Not a good idea.
Yeah.
So what do you think that most investors miss when they're crunching the numbers?
What do they miss? The minor details. So, for instance, when you're purchasing the property, how many people think about the land transfer tax?
Very few.
Right? How many people, if it's going to be a flip, how many people have budgeted in there the real estate fee when they're going to sell it?
Yeah.
Okay?
5%.
You have holding costs all the way along. You've got property taxes. You have insurance. If it's an empty house, I'll tell you what, right now, house insurance, that's a whole big topic in itself.
It's a lot.
Yes.
That they have to be prepared. They're paying dearly. I have a project right now. I'm paying $350 a month for house insurance.
Whoa. You should camp in it.
Yeah. but as long as you're aware, and then other things, also being prepared, obviously, if it's going to take longer. Did you budget, can you, like, you might, and that's again, this analyzer that we use, it shows if you got in and out in 4 months, it shows the amounts, but it also shows if you were able to get out a month earlier, how much you'll make, versus if it took you a month longer, how much you'll make. But all of these costs are in there, everything in it. Yeah, I think it's just people, you get emotional, right? And you think, oh, it'll be fine. I only need 10,000 for the kitchen. It's like, really?
10,000? Wow, for the countertop, maybe?
Yeah. So that's why one of the things that they have to do if they're going through our flip program, you must have your numbers well organized and show what it's going to cost. Now, if you have time to get quotes from contractors, that's even better. But if it's you doing it, we need to really crunch it down. Oh, I've had a couple people, they were just so pie in the sky. I had to tell them, I said, guys, there's no way you can get this done for what you're saying. There's just no way. That number is not going to work. And the lender is not an idiot.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, it's being realistic with your numbers.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think that you're right on when you see that a lot of times people kind of get caught up in this whole game. Oh, I need to get a place and the hype, and they forget about the little details that could eat up all of their profits.
We're not on HGTV here. They don't like, exactly. Oh, it's rotted floorboard. It's going to cost $50,000 more. Well, okay, where do you get that $50,000? And of course, on HGTV, they always find it. But in reality, sometimes you don't.
And they always come out with like $100,000 profit.
Yeah, it's like,
well,
I'm
actually,
not sure.
too, even when you're saying that, the rotted floorboards, their amount might be, oh, it's only going to cost you $5,000. I'm watching it. Where do they get that number from?
I know, it's going to cost 30 or 40.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what's next for you, Susan? You're still investing. You're still active. I know I saw some Collingwood properties, something you're working on. So what fun project can you share with us?
Well, it's this project in Collingwood has been fun and also the worst scenario in my life.
Oh no.
all at once. I've held the property way longer than I expected. I started off with I had a joint venture partner that I was doing it with in the beginning. That's how I got brought in. It went totally sideways with them. I ended up having to buy them out. Then I had contractor problems. But the good news is I'm resilient, for number one. Number two, COVID has been my friend in Collingwood, because even though it's taken longer, the market keeps going up.
Yeah, up.
Wow, that's great.
So I'm now at the end of it, and I'm enjoying now a glass of wine instead of using it as treatment to keep me. So it's listed now, and actually this week, fingers crossed, I'm expecting an offer tomorrow, and then we're hoping that it spins off to more. But so once it's sold, I need to just chill out for a bit.
Take a little break.
But I'm ultimately, I've got so many ideas, and of course I've got some crazy fun ideas and great ideas for my brokerage, because I only opened my own brokerage a year ago.
Wow. Congrats.
Yeah. Prior to that, I was always with other brokerages, but I specifically decided to open my own brokerage because I'm a very niche market.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm going to give a shout out right now to Dalia Barsoum at Streetwise. That's who I was with prior, and she was instrumental in helping me because she knew that that's what my ultimate goal was. And so we're really good friends in that to this day. But I just, being under another brokerage, it was better that I went off on my own, and now I could just promote private mortgages. As I want. So it's but I'm not jumping on any other projects right this minute. I'm going to chill out for a bit. But there'll be something else that comes along. As I say that to you, the phone could ring tomorrow and somebody with a great idea, and there's me going, oh, okay.
Oh my goodness, that's totally Francois.
Is it?
Every time we say we're going to take a break, he's like, oh, I just saw this great idea and this great deal. And I'm like, no.
And then I know Susan, who does private money. So,
yes,
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the thing. I mean, all of us, I mean, as real estate investors, we're all entrepreneurs.
yeah.
But we're all entrepreneurs with different personalities. And it sounds like, Francois, you and I are similar, how we see things. But then there's others that are slower, methodical, but more organized. Like, that's why. Oh, really? So you guys have a great partnership then. Really?
We try.
Yeah, but sometimes I go and get it done, and then too bad, now you need to fix it. Thank you.
Yeah. No, there's just, we can definitely say that real estate has so many avenues to offer.
Mm-hmm.
It never has to be boring or cookie cutter, right?
That's for sure.
Yeah.
So what if people want to get a hold of you and get some private mortgages going? What's the best way to reach you, Susan?
I would say the easiest is to go to my website, because everything's on there. And it's private money for mortgages with the number 4.com.
Okay.
That's easy.
It's easy. And I also, on the website, I have the complete guide to private mortgages. If people wanted to download that, they're welcome to it. I put a lot of time into putting that together to hopefully, and there's also question and answers for people, and I'll keep adding to it all the time, but I'm constantly trying to think of what are the most common questions I'm getting from people so that it is there. They don't have to keep getting a hold of me for the basic to get going and understand private mortgages. So yes, I definitely would suggest just go to my website, start there.
That's great. Start off with education, and then they know if they want to take this avenue or not. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the way I see it, this isn't an avenue of a yes or no. This is a tool.
Yeah.
All of us should recognize that there will be times as we build our portfolios that you're going to need private money at some point. And I know for myself, years ago, there was a time I didn't know where to turn. I didn't have avenues to turn because I just didn't know what was out there.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. So so there's no excuse for people not knowing that they can access private money.
Exactly. So do you have any final word of advice you'd like to share with our listeners?
I think they should join us in more wine and real estate with you guys.
Yes, I'll drink to that.
My glass is empty.
Yeah, no, this is definitely very enjoyable and relaxing talking with you.
Great.
And yeah, words of advice to investors, I guess, is just one step at a time. Just one step at a time. Figure out what you truly want, and then keep asking lots of questions till you find the avenue that's going to be your best avenue to move forward.
Yeah.
That's great advice.
That's a big one. We're working on a 5-year plan. We just decided today because normally we kind of I just wing it, and Jennifer's like, this isn't enough.
And I try to plan.
That's why you guys are good together.
Yes.
Yeah. So now we're going to plan. We're going to listen to Jennifer's advice.
Yes.
And yours. And then, grow incrementally, and hopefully things go better. Kind of like the right club there.
That's right.
Go up and up and up. So one step at a time. And that's the best way to do it. So thank you. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. And I hope we get to hear about some new stories in the future of new projects you've taken on. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you. And I thoroughly enjoyed being a part of your podcast. So thank you so much. No, not podcast. I guess it is. It is.
It's a live podcast.
It's Facebook Live.
Yes.
So,
thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.